Brian Roisentul here. I'm the host of the Fit Growth Machine podcast, where I talk to top leaders in the fitness industry. Before introducing today's guest, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. At BSR Digital, we help fitness brands that want to scale their business to the next level through Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads. BSR Digital knows that most e-commerce brands want to grow their sales, but they lack a solid plan and professional team to help them succeed. That's why PSR Digital offers strategic plans, implementation, optimization, and account audits to help more than 1,000 e-commerce brands like yours grow their business and surpass their competitors. To learn more, visit www.bsrdigital.com. That's bsrdigital.com. And you can also email them at hello@bsrdigital.com. So today I have Sue Izzo, who is the former female Jerry Maguire, evolved into a marketing and brand strategist for business owners, entrepreneurs, personal brands, and professional athletes. Hey, Sue, thanks for being on the show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we met thanks to Jeremy Wise from Rise 25, right? So I just wanted
Yes,
to
we love Jeremy.
Yeah, we love you, Jeremy. We just want to thank you for making the intro. So I love to have you here. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and what do you do?
Sure. Well, like I said, my name is Sue Izzo. I'm based out of Encinitas, California. I'm actually originally from the East Coast in Connecticut. I was the female Jerry Maguire for 20 years. I ran a sports management agency representing Winter Olympic athletes, X Games medalists, TV personalities, and then had the opportunity in 2016 to shift gears, sold my company to a large agency, and took my passion for building brands and became a marketing educator and consultant for business owners, executives, athletes, and teaching people kind of how to establish what they want to be known for, how they want to be perceived, and how to project that out into the world to attract new clients or the right kinds of clients as well.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, that's awesome. So I'm curious, and I'm sure the audience is as well. How did you get
Sure.
started with all this, and particularly being an agent, a sports agent?
Yes, my mother told me to go to school, to go to college and become a school teacher because when I got married and had children, I'd have the summers off. But I didn't listen to her. Instead, while I was in university, I ended up working for a company called Burton Snowboards. And that was where I first got exposed to sports marketing. And it was just an immediate draw. I just loved everything, the whole action part of it, of athletes and marketing and figuring out brand messaging. And I love sales and PR. So after that was my first exposure. And then after leaving school, fell under a sports agent, randomly had a job for just a few months. And he taught me what sports management was. And it was kind of combining all those things that I love doing. And so I was like, wow, this is really cool. Didn't study it. And so I went into my fifth grade bedroom in 1999 and opened up a Rolodex. And I knew some snowboarders from working at Burton and called one of them and said, hey, will you let me try to get you deals? And I had no idea what I was doing. And from there, was self-taught, very curious, and followed my gut of what seemed to make sense to me, and started, on the phone, just calling people and saying, like, kind of definitely the fake it till you make it. Like, hi, I'm Sue Izzo with Mosaic Sports Management. We're a global sports management agency. And I was like in my fifth grade bedroom with like one client, and had a part-time job. So that's how it all started.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, many of us start that way, right? From our garage or our bedroom or wherever, but we all start small. So that's great.
Yes.
And you were kind of probably shooting in the dark. I mean, like you didn't know what to expect or where you were heading. You were self-taught, as you said. So did you have a mentor back then, or did that come later?
Well, I was very fortunate that in the beginning I had a couple of attorneys that were guiding me. So that's how I learned contract negotiation and learned contracts. So that was like definitely step one with mentors. Another person that was extremely kind to me out of the gate was a gentleman by the name of Bob McKnight, who was the founder of Quicksilver. I had met him, and we just got along, and he was just very generous to me. And he really helped me when I was trying to break into the surf industry. So he was wonderful. And another gentleman by the name of Fernando Aguirre, who is the founder of Reef Footwear, another very generous, incredible human being. So I was very lucky to have some men in my life that, saw this scrappy young lady who was just determined to do right by her athletes, and were very kind with some guidance. But a lot of it too was self-taught, and also being really persistent in going after deals and learning.
Yeah, that's a great quality. I mean, when we all start, we need to be persistent. We probably don't know what we're doing, but we need to find the answers we don't have, and looking for mentors, coaches.
Yeah.
Also, it's great. And I wish I had a coach when I started. For example, I have
Oh
done
gosh, yeah.
differently, but it's important to take risks too, and to explore the world, and to see what you like. So how did you choose to work with athletes or with certain industries? Because that's the same thing that probably a lot of business owners run
Mhm.
into. They don't know if they need to niche down, or they need to
Exactly.
sell to everyone. How did you do it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because the sports management came first, and then business consulting and coaching came second. And you're right, it is the same. Where for me it was passion. So I knew that I loved snowboarding, and surfing came second. And it was one of those things where I was like, well, where do I want to spend all my time? And so in the mountains or on the beach, that made sense to me. I had an opportunity to get into representing skateboarders. There's a lot of money in representing skateboarders, but I didn't really have the desire to do so. I didn't want to really stand on pavement, and my passion wasn't there. So that's kind of how I chose those two specific sports. And then same goes for, building any business or niching down. It's, yes, you can try to be logical about it and be like, where are the customer needs, and who can we serve, and not who's not being served. But if you're going to get up every day and grind it out, you have to have passion for the problem that you're solving for these people, right? So it was very similar in that regard. So I was very passionate about the snowboarding and surfing industries, and what I could create with those athlete brands within those industries. And yeah, so that's a little bit of how that happened.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I mean, it makes so much sense for
Mhm.
the audience to ask themselves, what's your passion? I mean, what's my passion? What do I want for me? Where am I happy? You said mountain, the beach, but
Mhm.
if you're happy in some place or doing something, you should pursue that goal, regardless of whether it's hard or not. Because I'm sure it wasn't easy to get to know those big personalities you met, and working with high performing athletes. So if you're determined, you have, yeah, you know what you're looking for, and you do what you love. Probably that's a perfect combination, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's like, when I was choosing athletes, like you could choose a winning horse, right? And that's wonderful that they win. But if you can't market them, they don't have the marketability. If they don't have other interests, like I would select athletes based on three criteria: that they were great at their sport, that I could build an entertainment project around them, and an event property around them. They had to be talk aboutable in some shape or form. They had to have other interests outside of their sport that people could relate to. No different like when you're creating your product offerings, right? Like you're not just going to offer one product, like that'll be boring. So it's figuring out, how do we make ourselves attractive to potential sponsors, or how do we make ourselves attractive with offerings to our customers? Um, and that was something that really, I was a boutique agency, and that's what really set me apart from my competitors, was that I was always trying to figure out how to steal the spotlight from, if my athletes weren't winning, I always had another project in the works that was keeping them front and center with the press or with other sponsors or in the industry, if they were injured or what have you, because you can't just rely on one income stream, right? It's dangerous.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great lesson. And I
Mhm.
would love to talk more about the mindset, right? Or
Oh,
because
definitely.
I guess they must, I mean, the top performing athletes, they must have something in common, right? So I'm curious about what you learned from working with them all these years. What do they have in common? What's the
Sure.
secret sauce?
Yeah, yeah. I wish there was just one secret. There isn't. Here's the thing. When you start off, and just like in business, when you start off, it's for all of us business owners that started scrappy, um, there's innate talent there. There's an innate desire. There's an innate drive. And what separates the people that are just going off of innate talent is their willingness to have that growth mindset and to cultivate their talent and to seek answers outside of themselves, to ask for help, to practice in the worst conditions possible, because they know one day they're going to show up at a contest and it's going to be snowing sideways, and they need to know how to, the contest is going to go on, they need to know how to throw down and succeed in that weather too. It's those types of people that were just relentless. I had an athlete by the name of Danny Davis, and we were getting ready for the Olympics. And the tricks were, he was a professional snowboarder, and the tricks were getting very technical and very scary. These guys were going 20 feet out of a half pipe, and they were doing like triple spins in the whole 9 yards. And Danny was not, he'd been injured previously, and he was not into it. He was just very scared. And he had every right and reason to be scared. But he was also so talented. So he took a step back and he said, what is everyone doing? And what can I do that is so different that no one has seen, that doesn't put me at risk of dying? And he went and practiced by himself for 2 weeks before one of the Olympic qualifiers and learned how to do his run in the half pipe backwards, or going the opposite direction of his natural way. Nobody had done this before. The other thing that he did was that he didn't, typically in a contest, you get 3 runs, 3 chances to land and get a big score. Well, these athletes did the same run every single time, right? To, get their best run, land their best run. Danny did it different. He did every single run differently, switched it up every single time. So he never threw the same run twice. And so he blew the judges' minds because he did something that hadn't been done yet. He didn't follow the herd, and he ended up qualifying a spot to compete in Russia. And
Wow.
it was like that. That's the differentiating factor. It's the ones that look at things differently. How can I make it different? How can I do it better? Not following a herd, so to say. Putting in the hours of the work. Um, you know, and just, I don't know, like there has to be, again, that drive, that competitive drive of wanting to be your best and do the best that you possibly can. Yeah.
I love that. And I can, I got so many takeaways from these. So thanks for sharing. Um, One is, for example, that you need to know what battles to pick that you can win, and not be discouraged by the battle that is presented to you. In this
Mhm.
case, you said that the the challenge was won and he was afraid, but it's not that he threw the towel and said, "Oh, this is not for me." Like many
Right.
business owners starting, right? He said, "Oh, I'm going to pick another battle I could win," right? And
Yep.
he picked his own, right? And probably
Exactly.
that's what does that tell you for probably the business space?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's, it's how I think a lot about when I first started my company. I couldn't compete with these large sports management agencies. They had so much money to wine and dine sponsors and to and athletes, right? To lure them in to sign with them. And so I had to get really creative. I couldn't fly anybody on a private jet. I was like driving a Honda CRV that was like about to die. And so what I did was to stand out. I started making, I'm Italian. And so I would show up with a pot of like homemade marinara sauce to like sponsors and be like, hey, thanks so much for the meeting. Here's a pot of marinara for you. And people were staring at me like, did you just really bring me spaghetti sauce? I'm like, yeah, I can't. Like, I can't entertain you and send you a bottle of Dom. I can't afford it, but like I can make you this sauce. And it was something that like that story, every time I did something like that, yeah, for years, for 20 years, these people would always bring that up. I'll never forget when you showed up to my office doing that, right? Or taking the time to get to know these people, their families. Like we didn't have LinkedIn and Facebook and social media when I started. So you literally had to ask people questions about, tell me about your wife. Oh, your kids in college, what school did they go to? And then making sure that every single time that something was in the news that was relevant to this, reaching out to that person and saying, oh, hey, I saw that, Stanford won and your kid must be doing great there. Thinking of all the ways that you can be different and be memorable and be talk aboutable that aren't stock standard that everyone else is doing. That is some of the biggest things that I teach my business owners is coming up with those like talk aboutable moments that help separate you from the pack and how you think about things.
Love it. Yeah. And talking about your current business, how did you transition from being a sports
Sure.
agent? I know you sold the agency. So would you like to talk about that? How did you transition to a business owner?
Sure.
Sorry, to a business coach?
Yeah, as I said, like when I was working with my athletes, one of the things I understood really well when you're dealing with professional athletes is there's no guarantee how long their career is going to be. So it was very important to me and these are young kids that you're signing. So they miss out on those years of going to college or sometimes even high school. So I always wanted to spark whatever entrepreneurial spirit they had within them and help them, if they were passionate about something, create a business, if that made sense. And so we did that. We did quite a bit of that from headphone companies, nonprofits, product lines, like I said, entertainment properties, event properties. And so that was very natural to me that when I sold the sports management company, that I was like, you know what? I really love building and helping business owners and build businesses. And I really love, again, the creativity of that. And obviously, nurturing how you nurture relationships with people. So I had an opportunity to joined some friends who have a great business in Australia called Basic Bananas, and they asked me to bring their company to the States. And what that was he went around and taught business owners an 11-month mastermind, teaching them about 30 different modules of marketing, over an 11-month period. And then I was like, wow, I really love doing this. So then I left them and said, all right, let me just start another company, and opened up a coaching and consulting business where I work with business owners and kind of work with them on their constraints and their marketing. And I really believe from my life experience and business experience, I really harp on building your success and your happiness simultaneously. I don't believe in sacrificing one over the other. So if we're going to grow your business, let's grow your happiness while we're at it. And so that's what I do. I help solve marketing problems, brand positioning problems, processes, and help them grow personally and professionally.
That's great. And you told me a great story about this athlete. Do you have a story for someone you help with their business as well that
Oh
comes to
my
mind?
gosh. Yeah, there's so many.
I
I
know.
swear, I'm like such a proud mom, and like these business owners, some of them are like 20 years older than me, but like I'm such a proud mom. I think what I love the most is when business owners come to me and they either say, I've tried this, it doesn't work, it's plateaued, I don't know what to do, if they're rocking back and forth under their desk, wondering how they're going to like pay the bills. I really love that part of it because I see possibilities in people than when they can't see it themselves. So when we start peeling back layers and getting to the root of what the problem is and helping them create the roadmap to solve those problems, and then watching them actually implement and do the work and then see the results, that is just the best feeling in the world. I love it when their customers and clients are just praising them and grateful, and then they see the change in the business themselves or the product or the service. There's too many to mention. I mean, there's just been a lot of fun ones that we've done that I have wealth managers to apparel companies to a client who coaches people to participate in a sober surgery if they've been in recovery and they don't want narcotics, to sports people. So it's really run the gamut.
Great. You still deal with sports, with the sports industry, right?
I do. Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, there's some, it's really funny. I can't escape it. So it's not a bad thing, but yeah,
No,
I
no, no,
really,
not at all. That's what you
no, no,
love.
I do. And kind of like I was saying, it's like, I get phone calls from business owners and executives and athletes all the time. But for me, it's like, I have to gel with the person, right? Because we're on a journey together. So it's like, if you got to match my work ethic, number one, and then we're getting in the trenches together. So we got to get along. So that's the other part of, like, who I work with. So it's fun. I feel really honored to be able to do the work that I do, and hopefully I do it well for them.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Yeah, and so this have been a couple of rough years for many
Yes.
businesses, a lot of opportunities as well, of course. So how what did you see in common for people you coach? How do you think COVID affected their businesses? And
Mm,
probably what role do you think you played to deal with their frustrations or to take
sure.
advantage of new opportunities and have a positive?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, great question. I mean, yes, everybody was affected. I think obviously with what I do with marketing, that was like a number one thing. Everybody was like, if they weren't online, um, how did they get online? Number two, if they were online, how did you cut through the clutter? Because there was a lot of noise, online all of a sudden. Everybody was kind of in the same boat. So again, coming up with ways, one of the things that I really like to do, like a couple of examples, is thinking about how we can our interactions with our customers before, during, and after, and leaving what I call like kind of the wow model, like the impact of paying attention to detail of that intake form. How do we make that creative? How do we pay attention to a customer's needs, desires, and frustrations? How do we service that in between? And then how do we leave them after? Like, I dealt with a moving company, and this was really cool actually, because like, let's say a moving company, you compete on your price, and for them it was, all right, how do we do this differently? How do we deal with, like, being standing out in this? And so we created a cool way where, being very sensitive to COVID and families, like, okay, get us, you package your sheets, here are things that you put your bedding into. We made sure we went in, they made the beds the first thing they did for the people that were coming into the house. And people got to the house, they had left a pizza for them when they arrived, plus gift certificate to the movies, or, well, it wasn't the movies because they couldn't go to the movies, but it was, to go out. And so it was just being thoughtful, right? And being respectful of the circumstance that we were all living in, and helping businesses come up with those sort of ideas that were dealing with the times. The other thing was really making sure you were nurturing your client relationships, and also being aware of the financial ramifications that a lot of people were dealing with. And if they were able to give a break financially to customers, then they did that, and it was amazing to see the customers' reactions to that. They didn't even ask for the break. And some of them were able to give them a discount and things of that nature, just to be, compassionate of what was going on. So that was really, I loved the humanity side of it. So that was really great. And in terms of mindset, it was really hard. It was really hard. I think that this really allowed business owners to take a step back from their business. I harp on this all the time, that we're so busy working in our business, we don't take the time to work on our business. So this was a great time to focus on how we work on our business. And when it came to mental health, one of the things that I had them do was create their I've gotten done list. And that is because I think when you get so discouraged about all the things that aren't going right, we forget about all the things that have gone right for us. So sitting down and mapping, just creating a kind of a brain dump of, these are all the things you've accomplished in 3 years with your business. Yeah, we're in a terrible time right now, but look at what you were able to do with such little resources. Okay, we can do this. And that was such a confidence builder for so many of them. And I also am a big proponent of having had major burnout from business, saying, you know what, take advantage of this time. Like, take advantage of this time, because we're not going to have it forever. So it was a mixed bag of how we handled, each client.
Yeah, and it's a combination of what you mentioned earlier. You need to be creative in this time
Yes.
more than ever. You need to reinvent your
Hmm.
company sometimes, or
Yes.
to, as you said, go online, or to do
Hmm.
something totally different. And for some people, we saw from the agency, at least, a lot of new companies,
Yeah.
rising, and a lot of existing companies diversifying or going full online. And now to this
Hmm.
day, they have their brick and mortar store open, but
Yep.
they sell online a lot because
Yes.
people changed, the consumers changed, behaviors
Yes.
changed. It was like, I don't know, I don't know, accelerated, fast forward, I don't know, 5 years or so,
Yeah.
the online behaviors, all the stuff. So I think it was a great time to focus on that, as you said, to have a positive mindset, to be creative, to be constant, to work on the business. So I think
Yep.
that's great because you do need to have all those, let's say, aspects and qualities uh, every time. But in this
Right.
case, it was, as you say, it was probably mandatory or more necessary than ever. So yeah, that's
Yeah, massive wake up call. And I think that, your customers are the people that are going to tell you what they want and what they need. So if you are not using that resource and communicating with them consistently, then you're a fool. And so this was a really great time for people to put those, policies in place or practices in place and really reach out and talk to their not only their current customers, but their ideal customers, right? Because sometimes I think as business owners, we get so wrapped up in our head what we think everybody wants, we don't even ask. So, and I think that this was a nice wake up call for businesses. I mean, unfortunate in some ways, but a blessing in others, where it's like, all right, now we know we need to bulletproof some stuff. So how do we do that? And I think, I'm proud of the work that we were able to do with our clients in terms of creating systems and processes and talking to our clients and customers and learning, using this as a massive learning experience.
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, another thing I see in common between athletes and business owners is that it could get very lonely sometimes
Yes.
because you have a team behind supporting you all the time, but it
Mhm.
could be, I mean, you know more about this than me, right? So for this, it's great to have a coach. And also, I know you're starting something else that they could use, which is a mastermind in this case for young athletes and their parents, right? So that's awesome. Congrats on that. And would you like to tell the
Thanks.
audience more about that?
Yeah. Actually, I have two totally separate masterminds. One's for business owners, but the one that we're talking about right now, after being an agent for 20 years, I decided that it was time to give back to the community, and so I created a sports management mastermind, and this is for parents of young athletes or athletes that want to get sponsored. And it's a 4 week Zoom mastermind where we meet once a week, we get 90 minutes, and we cover everything of how to build your athlete brand, how to negotiate a contract, how to attract sponsors. And it's a passion project for me, in a way to give back. And it's amazing because there's so much to like today of standing out as an athlete and what makes a successful athlete and what's the difference between a short career and a long career and being of value to sponsors. So we're launching our next one in October, and so that's, you can find information on that at the sportsmanagementmastermind.com, or you can find it on my social media at
Yeah,
Sue
we'll put
Izzo.
that in the show notes. Yeah, of course. To wrap up, do you think that I didn't ask you anything that you would love to mention to the audience?
No, I mean, if I can be of service to anybody in your audience, please let me know. I'm here to help everyone and anyone that I can and add value. And I just want to see people succeed and be happy.
That's great. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Sure. You can head over to Sue Izzo, IZZO.com, or find me on Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn at Sue Izzo.
That's great. We'll make sure to put the link in the show notes. Thanks, Sue, for being on the show. You have been amazing.
Thank you so much.